Good afternoon, everybody. I extend a warm welcome to Shri Rahul Gandhi, Honorable Member of Parliament, to our prestigious institution. I also extend a warm welcome to our Honorable Chief Minister of Puducherry. We will begin the proceedings. We will begin the proceedings with a prayer song by Ms. Devashri and Ms. Kripashri. Please rise. Thank you, girls. Rahulji, this prayer song was written by our Pondicherry poet Bharatidasan, and it is a song that glorifies Tamil language, which upholds our Tamil culture and Tamil land. I now hand over the mic to our MC of the day, Ms. Janani from the Department of English. Over to you, Janani.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. K. Subramani, our beloved principal, is a distinguished academician and has excelled in his area of expertise, chemistry, having served for more than 4 decades in the different pockets of the Union Territory of Puducherry. Under his principalship, various steps were taken to improve the campus and the academic activities of the college. He was a pillar of support for the Alumni Association in starting the noon meal scheme for our students. He is ever ready to extend all help to us students. As you all know, our beloved principal is retiring the coming week. We are all indebted to you, sir, for graciously accepting our request to invite Shri Rahul Gandhi ji, Honorable Member of Parliament, for an interaction in the campus. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to call our beloved principal to deliver the welcome address. Sir, please.
Good evening to one and all present here. Bharatidasan Government College for Women, Puducherry, was inaugurated on 15th August 1968. The college is named after the renowned Pondicherry poet Bharatidasan. The prayer song, we have, the students have sung, that is written by the Bharatidasan song only. Originally, Kanaga Subbu Ratnam, his name is, the poet had adopted the name Bharatidasan, translated as a disciple of Bharati. அவர் பாரதியார் மேலே கொண்ட அன்பினால தான் பாரதிதாசன்னு பேர் வந்தது. The revolutionary feminist, naturalist, Tamil poet Subramanian Bharati, though his writings, Bharatidasan fought for the right and empowerment of women and lent his voice to the cause of women's education. Bharatidasan fought for the women's education and widow remarriage. Also he has raised his voice for the widow remarriage. The poet name was adopted the name of the college. That's why the name of the college for the contribution to the service of the womanhood for women's year sport. That's why the government has started this as gave the name Bharatidasan Government College for Women. We look towards educating latent woman power of the Union Minister. This college for the excessive use of for women who aspired to higher education had a humble beginning with only a handful of teaching departments and a few hundred, particularly 300 people only started. In 1968, when this college started, the strength of the college is only 300 students. Only 300 students. Today, 52 years down, we find the college has made a giant leap and has grown phenomenally. We offer 14 UG courses and 2 PG courses and MPhil and PhD programs in 2 subjects. We have on our roll now 5,600 students. It is started with 300 students. Now the strength is 5,600 students. And nearly 150 teaching staff and non-teaching staff are working in this college. The student of this college has now organized for this function on the role of women in shaping modern India. And we are glad that the Honorable Rahul Gandhi ji has accepted their invitation. It is your function, students' function. Therefore, he has accepted your invitation. He has come over here. Accepted your invitation to interact with the students. On the behalf of the organizers of this function and on my personal behalf, I extend a warm welcome to Rahul ji sir. I also extend my warm welcome to Honorable CM of Pondicherry, Thiru Narayanasamy. You know, Lord Shiva is the god of destruction. Lord Brahma is the god of creation. Lord Narayana is the savior of us. Honorable CM protects and saves us from all the evil things of the Pondicherry people. Therefore, I welcome you, sir. I also welcome Honorable Education Minister Kamalakannan. Some years ago, 3,000 was a strength. Now it is 5,600, means the man responsible for increase of seats without leaving any student vacant is a man who has increased the seat to the 5,600. Kamalakannan. He has also introduced a mentor system where the student can tell their problems, whatever may be the problem, your problem, that you can tell, and you can get advice from your mentors. Mentors are your father, mother is there at home. The mentors will be acting you like another father, mother. They will guide you. Mentor will be like your friends. You can tell anything. That the mentor system is introduced by Honorable Minister for Education Kamalakannan. Therefore, I welcome you, sir. I also welcome and other dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, executive faculties and the staff members, the students of this college to this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our principal to honor our chief guest, Shri Rahul Gandhi ji. Now I request our principal sir to present a memento and a gift on behalf of the college to our beloved chief guest. Thank you, sir. The young and energetic leader of the Congress, hailing from the noble family of Jawaharlal Nehru, he has great concern towards the young generation and always raises his voice towards the betterment of common man. Despite his descendancy from a powerful and affluent community, he is very down to earth and mingles with everyone humbly. He is no doubt the voice of the downtrodden and common man in India. His address on the role of women in shaping modern India will enlighten us and will inspire us to play a pivotal role in sculpting the modern India. Sir, this is the first time in the history of our college that we have an eminent personality like you visit us on behalf of the visitors. Thank you, sir. On behalf of the entire student and staff community, thank you for accepting our request and coming here, sir. I'm pretty sure our girls are eagerly waiting to interact with you, sir. Aren't you, girls? With no further delay, I would like to call Shri Rahul Gandhi ji up on the stage to deliver his address. It will be followed by an interactive session. The girls who are willing to question, please raise your hands and inform yourself. Sorry, I'm really sorry. Introduce yourself before questioning. Thank you.
So, would you like me to speak in English and get it translated? or just speak in English? Only English? Okay. Well, I'd like to welcome Principal Sir, all the faculty members, and all the young ladies to this function. I'd also like to welcome Chief Minister, Education Minister, and other dignitaries. I'd like to start by saying it is an honor for me to come here and have a conversation.
To come here
and it's an
and have a
honor
conversation with you.
because I consider you to be the future.
Because I consider you to be the future of this country. You are 50% of India's population, approximately. But you do not have the same space that men and boys have in our society. And this is a fact. India will only truly be successful when you occupy equal space to men in our society. Before that, India will not be able to reach its full potential. So, for me, what would be useful for me to do is to give you a sense of how you can occupy your space, how you can go to occupying 50%, and frankly, even more if that was possible. Society is unfair to you. You have to start with that understanding. So you have to realize that as a woman in India, you are not being treated fairly. You are being treated unfairly. For example, if you decide to walk outside at night, you feel a sense of fear while you're walking. Do you? You feel uncomfortable while you're walking, right? Do you think men feel uncomfortable when they walk around at night? They feel very comfortable, right? So there is a hidden force that constantly keeps you under control, maybe scared. Maybe it will sometimes not allow you to believe that you can do certain things. Maybe somebody will say to you, you know, you can't be an engineer, you can't be a doctor, you can't be a soldier, you can't be something. And the first thing you should remember is, there is absolutely nothing that men can do that you cannot do. Anything that they can do for this country, you can do for this country. And then I'd like to give you one thing to think about before we have a conversation. Your thoughts, what you think, will become your words. Your words will become your actions. Right? You can see that. No, what you think becomes your words, and then what you say becomes your actions. Your actions will become your character, and then your character will define your destiny. So you don't have to worry about your destiny. You don't have to worry about your actions. You don't have to worry about your words. You have to worry about your thoughts. What is coming into your mind first, You have to see it clearly, understand it. And once you understand your thoughts, automatically you will get the right action, you'll get the right character, you'll get the right destiny. Now, why am I telling you? Why am I telling you you have to watch your thoughts? You will watch your thoughts at the individual level, but the nation is also moving forward based on your thoughts. What you think in your mind will not only define your destiny, it will define India's destiny, it will also define the world's destiny. You'll say, how can that be? How can something I think define India's destiny or the world's destiny? Because what you think is infectious. What you think goes from you to other people. And that is why what was said on the stage, humility is important. Because in this life, you will not do anything alone. You will never do anything alone. You might say, what are you studying? You might say, I am studying BSc Physics, correct? But can you study without your teachers? Can you study without your friends? Can you study without the people who have written the book? Can you study without the person who made these buildings? No. So we do nothing alone. And so we have to understand that whatever we do as a group. And we have to respect all those other people in the group. So, as women, you have to work with other women. You have to protect other women. You have to make other women feel comfortable. You have to make men also feel comfortable. But especially you have to make your sisters comfortable. So that's broadly my message to you. If you are arrogant, India will become arrogant. If you are angry, India will become angry. If you hate someone, India will hate. If you are affectionate, India will become affectionate. If you embrace your friend, India will embrace. So, you have to understand your power. You're not just individuals. You're also part of a city, you're part of a state, you're part of a country, you're part of the world. And so you have to act like that. You have to be careful what you're thinking. Sometimes you might get angry. You might say something bad to somebody. Try and control it. Try and see, maybe I can do something in a better way. I can do something in a more effective way. So that would be my advice to all of you. I think there is a lot that can be done to make you more comfortable. I mean, I'm very happy that this institution has grown so dramatically. From 300 young ladies to, what, almost 6,000? 5,600, and probably to 10,000, 20,000. We don't know where it can go. Right? And then imagine that every year almost 6,000 girls are going and influencing others. Maybe one girl influences 100 people, 200 people. So you can imagine your impact on Puducherry, on the nation. So I'm here to tell you that you must never feel pressured by anybody. You must never feel threatened by anybody. You must never feel scared of anything. It is important for you and it is important for the country also. Okay? So that is what I wanted to say to you. Now, feel free to ask me whatever questions you'd like. I'm happy to answer them for you. Thank you.
hand over the mic.
Girls, one by one, you can raise your hands and you can ask sir questions. Please introduce yourself before starting the question. You can start raising your hands. Volunteers will give you a mic. Please use the mic to ask the questions. It's working.
That's better?
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Myself, Sherry Barut from English department. Though we speak about equality, there are still a number of departments and sectors where equal allocation of seats are not given for women. So if you are in charge, will you give 50% allocation of seats for women in all the
Look,
departments?
I would like to give... you see, you have to understand, if we are going to be absolutely fair, then for many years, you've had many less seats, correct? So there's also a backlog that we have to make up. So I don't think it should be 50-50. I think it should be actually 60-40 for you. But that will be difficult, okay? Because the men will have something to say about it. They won't be happy about it. So let us start with 50-50 and then slowly go to 60-40.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to, by the way, before I start, I'd like to apologize to all of you because my flight got delayed in Delhi, so you've had to wait here a little while. So I wanted to just say, apologize and say sorry about that.
Next question, please. Volunteer, please hand over the mic.
I'm Kamalni from BCom General. My question is, what advice could you give to young women to strengthening a democracy and to continue the economic prospects to our country?
Democracy requires independent institutions. It requires a judiciary. It requires a free press. It requires conversation in the houses of parliament, in the houses, in the state houses. And all of you have a role to occupy those places. You will all become maybe judges, lawyers, journalists. You will work in these institutions. And the best way to defend democracy is to make sure that when you're working in these institutions, you're being independent. That you're not listening to somebody who's forcing you to say something, and that you're defending the independence of the institution. So, for example, over here, if we have a free discussion, open discussion, that would be democratic. If, on the other hand, we didn't allow questions, we only gave a speech, and then we went away, that would not be democratic. So, it is your duty to force discussion where discussion is not happening. To protect people who are being threatened. You can see today in the country, people are being threatened, people are being killed because of their opinion. And it is your duty to protect these people, to step out and say, no, I'm not going to allow that. That's not going to happen under my watch. So you have to take responsibility for this country. This is your country. Correct? Belongs to you? What is your name? Huh? Ilikya. It belongs to you, no? The country belongs to you. So you have to step forward and say, I am not going to accept anything less than the best. Right? Yeah. So that's basically the idea. You fight for your rights and you fight for the rights of everybody around you. And also, one more thing. One more thing. See, different parts of this country have different ideas. different cultures. For example, I came here and the first question I asked you, would you like me to translate what I'm saying into Tamil? Right? Why did I do that? I did that because I basically respect your language. I basically respect your way of doing things. I don't want to come and tell you that, listen, you have to do things in this way. You have to speak some other language. You have to do X, Y, Z. It is important that you defend your way of doing things. Understand your culture, appreciate. And the Tamil people should defend their culture. The Bengali people should defend their culture. Punjabi people should defend their culture. But if you want to protect democracy in India, that you defend your culture. It is important that you defend your language. It is important that you defend your way of doing things. And the Tamil people should defend their culture. The Bengali people should defend their culture. Punjabi people should defend their culture. But always respect the other culture. So you can't say that I will defend my language, but then those people over there, their language I will not defend. Right? So that is the spirit of appreciation of other people's way of doing things, and that's at the heart of Indian democracy. India is actually many different ideas. There's not one idea in India. There are many, many, many different ideas, and that's the core of defending democracy.
Anyone from this side, please?
Good afternoon, sir.
Where?
Sir, I'm here.
Okay, yeah.
I'm Mahavidya from the Department of French. Do you have concrete plans for the rehabilitation of rape victims?
Sorry?
Do you have concrete plans for the rehabilitation of rape victims?
I think, well, of course, you would have concrete plans for the rehabilitation of rape victims, and it's important. But I think there are two elements to the issue of violence against women. The first is a legal issue, right? And so you have to have laws that protect women and laws that are strict when a woman is raped. And the second thing you have to do is you have to protect women by changing the way society looks at women. It's not possible to rehabilitate a woman who has been raped if the society does not treat her properly, right? And in our society, women who have been raped are treated badly. They are shamed, they are not treated with respect. So you have to also, in addition to changing the law, in addition to protecting them legally, you also have to make sure that society treats them with respect. And you have to change the way men think about women. Yes, and I'm committed to doing all those three things.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you, sir. Next question, please.
Sir, I'm here.
Okay, listen, my name is not Sir. Okay, my name is Rahul, so call me Rahul, please. Sir, you can call your principal sir, you can call your teachers sir, you call me Rahul. Okay?
Maybe we can call him Rahul Anna.
Yeah, you can call me Rahul Anna, that's good.
Good afternoon, Rahul Anna. Myself Ryuma and I'm from Maths department. My question is, do you have friends other than political friends? Among them, how many of your girls and they are from which fields?
I have plenty of friends. I have plenty of friends who are not political. I also have some friends who are political. And then there are a lot of people who see me as their political enemy, but I view them as my political friends. And I have quite a few interests. You know me as a politician, but I have quite a few interests. And I have friends who have similar interests. So I sort of discuss those interests with them and do a lot of those things with my friends. So yes, I do have friends. Do you? Huh? What?
Girlfriends.
We'll leave that for another day.
Next question, please.
Yeah.
So, Rahul Anna. Here.
Oh, there. Okay. I'll come back to you.
Happy afternoon, Anna.
Huh?
Happy afternoon. Myself, Sri Shweta. I am from Max Department. I am very proud and I am very happy to see you, sir. And my question is...
You said sir again.
Sorry, Anna. Sorry, Anna. A lot of women harassments and suppressing is seen all over. According to you, how can a woman fight with this?
No, sorry, what was the first part of your...
Harassments.
Harassment. I think, first of all, you as a woman should just stand up to it. And you should not step back. If someone harasses you, do not let them. And you have much more power than you think. You have large number of friends who can help you. You have the legal system that helps you. You have many, many different places you can go. So you must never step back. If somebody is harassing you, if somebody is not giving you what is your due, you have to face them and challenge them. That's the first step. I mean, what little I know of you, I don't think anybody has the guts to harass you. I think you're tough enough. I think you're tough enough that you can stand up to anybody. Right? You agree with me? And now when you agree with me about that you're tough enough to stand up to anyone? Yeah? And if anybody is harassing a friend of yours or another girl, then it is your responsibility to stand together with her and make sure they stop. And remember that I am also standing with you. And there are many, many men in this country who are standing with you and who will work with you, help you, and make sure that you're not harassed. Yeah? You might notice that I didn't say there are many men who will protect you. You notice that? And the reason I didn't say that is because you don't need anyone's protection. You can protect yourself.
Good afternoon, Rahul ji. Here,
No.
back
Where are
of
we?
you. Here, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Rahul ji. Myself, Bhuvaneshwari from Computer Science Department. What do you think of patriarchy?
I don't like it.
Is this a hindrance for women development?
I'm actually a member of parliament from Kerala. And Kerala used to have a matriarchal system. Do you know that?
Yes, sir.
Right? In Kerala, they told me, I don't know if it's true or not, but they told me that if, in certain communities, if the woman is tired of the husband, she takes his shoes and puts them outside her house and he has to leave. Have you heard of this? You've heard of this?
No, sir.
I think this is a good system. I think it's good. I think women should have power in the family. My experience with work I did in Uttar Pradesh is if a woman controls the finances of a family, her vision for the family is much longer term. She plans much more effectively than a man. So I'm all for empowering women in the family. Of course, men also have a role. It's not that they don't have a role. But I'm totally against the patriarchy.
How can we change this scenario, sir?
By standing up for your rights. Tell me, when was the last time that someone made you feel uncomfortable because you're a woman?
Today, sir.
Tell me what happened.
Actually, I was given a few questions to the teachers for me to ask you. But they said it's political, so I should not ask it.
Okay, so ask it.
Can I, sir?
Yeah.
I have like some 4 questions, sir.
Well, ask me one, because other people also have to ask.
All
Ask me
right.
the most difficult one.
Okay. This question goes like this. Now, what can we women do, considering the highly misogynistic dark age of India occurring today? With extensive privatization, the reservation for women, gender minorities, and OBCs, Dalits, disabled will definitely be taken away. This will again create a male-dominated society where myth of meritocracy will take away our chances for upward mobilization. What do you expect us to do, and how will you spread this awareness in your propaganda? Because it's highly time women start being political with elections coming. We need to know who we must vote for. We need to know which party is anti-women, tampering with reservations, supporting the rapists, arresting women and sexually assaulting them in prison. We need caution about that party. So what will you do now about this?
Now, first of all, now, you see, this is not a political question. This is a fundamental question. This is a question that she's asking about her future. She's saying, if 3 or 4 big companies run this country, what will be my future? Suppose I want to start a business. How will I be able to start a business if 2 or 3 or 4 huge companies own everything in India? So this is a fundamental question. This is not a political question. This is an economic question. This is a social question. There's multiple different types of questions. So the first thing is, it is important for you girls to understand that jobs in this country are created by small and medium businesses, entrepreneurs, farmers, and traders. You know, you see these little restaurants, you see these shops, you see laborers working in the farm, you see small businesses. This is the backbone of job creation in this country. If this backbone is broken, you will not be able to get jobs in this country. It's simple. This backbone of small and medium businesses is what is going to give you a job. Right? And currently what is happening is a wholesale attack on the small and medium businesses, on the entrepreneurs, on the farmers. There are 3 new farm bills that have been passed. They are basically going to destroy Indian agriculture and hand Indian agriculture to 3 or 4 business people. Many of your parents here will be farmers. They will be devastated by these 3 laws. We are fighting these 3 laws. I am personally fighting these 3 laws, and I have personally given a speech in Parliament saying that these 3 laws will destroy agriculture. And the same was done with demonetization. The same was done with GST. And the same was done during Corona. You will remember that during Corona, the largest businesses in the country were given 1,50,000 crores tax relief. But workers who were walking back home from the cities were not given a bus ticket. Please understand, 5 or 6 people were given 150,000 crores, and workers of this country were not given 200 rupees. Who are the future? The future of this country are the farmers. They are the workers. They are the small and medium businesses, and those are under attack. So what do you have to do, and what do I have to do? We have to defend those businesses. We have to defend those farmers. We have to defend those laborers. And that is our national duty. It is not our personal duty, it is our national duty, because if we don't do it, none of you will have jobs. Every one of you will be looking for a job and you will not be able to find one. And we cannot afford that type of an India. That's the first part. The second part is students need to be allowed to speak. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
What is the point of me coming here, right, and then you not being able to ask me questions? You should be able to ask me any question you want. The fact that I have come here, I should be able to answer any question you ask me. Otherwise, why have I come here? What is the use of me? That is the whole point of being a leader. And maybe you'll ask me a question, and maybe I won't be able to answer it. And then that will make me think about that question. And that will make me think deeply about the question and maybe give you a solution. Think about the solution. So I don't fear questions. I have never feared questions. And I will never fear questions in my life. And my advice to all of you, my advice to every single one of you, particularly in discussions like this, is when someone tells you you cannot ask a question, you tell them, I'm going to ask the question. Correct? So, and in your life also, your teachers might say, sorry, you can't ask. Father might say, mother might say, you can't ask me a question. No. Respect requires that you are allowed to ask any question you want. And there's no foolish questions. Please understand, there's nothing known as a foolish question. People tell you that's a stupid question. You know why they tell you that's a stupid question? Exactly. Because they don't know the answer. That's it. They don't know the answer. So they say that's a stupid question. And I am interested in this country becoming successful and powerful. So we need all of you to ask all your politicians the hardest questions without any hesitation. Okay? Now, tell me, other than that, how was you being a woman? How were you discriminated against? Tell me an event in your life where something happened to you because you were a woman and that would not have happened to a man.
Education, sir.
Tell me.
Actually, I like to join in an engineering college where it's with boys and girls. But my parents suggested, and some of my friends, family, relatives, they suggested that I have to be in a women's college because that's safer for you than in a co-ed. Because where they fear that we would get mingled with boys and we would go in a wrong side or get attracted by them like that, something. So they are not allowing us.
So, if I'm very blunt. So can I be blunt? So what they're telling you is we don't trust you.
Yes, sir. Not.
That's not fair.
They don't even, the men's have to give them the trust, right? How much we can give them.
But you should say to them that you should trust me.
But
you
in
should say to them you should trust me. And my advice to you, and maybe you'll do it or you won't do it, my advice to you is, I would like to see you as an engineer. That's how I would like to see you, because that's what you want. Why should we make our girls study something they don't want? What is the use? Do you think you would be happier being an engineer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think you would be better at being an engineer?
Yes, sir.
So then why are we killing your potential? Why are we saying to you that no, don't do what you want to do, don't do what you can be good at, don't do what you can be world class at, do something that you don't want to do. You're going to be upset all your life. All your life you will be saying to yourself, I should have become an engineer. So, my advice, stand your ground.
Yes, sir.
And if you want, I'll help you.
Thank you, sir.
If you want, I'll speak to your parents and try and convince them.
That's so kind of you. Thank you.
Hi, Anna. I'm at your... Hi, Anna.
I'm raising some difficult questions, no? No, maybe I shouldn't have said that. What do you think? Huh? You think I should have said that, or you think I should have kept quiet? I should have said that, no? I felt I should have said that, so I said it. But maybe she got a bit uncomfortable. Exactly.
Good afternoon, Rahul Anna.
This side.
Again,
Here,
where-
Anna.
okay.
Hi, Anna. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Okay, I'm very pleased.
I'm a bit disturbed by that.
Okay.
No, honestly, because I'm thinking to myself, that's really unfair. And I know that many of you girls here are thinking to yourself that that same thing happened to us. How many girls over here feel that the same thing was done to them? Can you show me your hands? No, don't be shy. Show me your hands. See? Look. So I was disturbed by that. And my advice to all of you is do what you want. Don't let people make you do or study exactly what they want, because you're going to have to deal with it afterwards. Sorry.
Okay, so I have two questions for you. The first one
Political?
is...
Political ones or non-political?
One is little bit of a political one, but not much of a political one, actually. So the first question...
I'm fine with both.
Okay. Okay.
They might not like it.
Okay. Okay, the first one is unemployment is being a major issue in India, as we all know. But what would you do to reduce or remove unemployment of women when you become the Prime Minister of India?
I think as I said, I'll explain it very simply. If you want to create jobs, the most important thing is the banking system, right? The money that the country has in the banks and who controls it. That's the most important thing. Today, largest number of jobs in India are produced by small and medium businesses, entrepreneurs. But they do not have access to the banks. The banks, majority of the money of the banks is given to 5, 10, 15 of the biggest businessmen in the country. I would move the money of the banks from the 5, 10 biggest businesses in the country to the millions of smaller and middle-sized businesses in the country. That's what I would do. And then I would ensure that millions of Indian women who want to start a business, who want to employ people for India, can easily take bank loans and start their business. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I feel that the understanding of finance, understanding of money, women are not taught about money. Society doesn't like teaching women about money. Because the moment women understand money, women can become independent. And so I think that's a very important thing to do, to show women the link between finance and independence. There's a direct link between finance and independence. If you get married to somebody and you do not have access to finance, you cannot be independent. Simple. So, educating women about how money works, what it means to be financially literate, what it means to be financially independent, these are very, very important things. And I think I would emphasize on that. I would tell all of you that one of the most important goals for you should be financial independence. 100% financial independence. You should be able to earn your own money, you should be able to spend your own money, and you should be independent as a result of that. So I think those are the things I would focus on.
Okay, sir.
You're all gone quiet. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
You agree with that? How many of you here are financially independent? Look at that. How many of you here are financially independent? Is anyone here financially independent? So that's an important step. For you, you should think about your own financial independence. And I would like that when I meet you 3 or 4 years from today, and I come to this room and I say, listen, how many of my sisters are financially independent? At least 90% of you should say, yeah, I'm financially independent. Look, the whole of India, well, not the whole of India, but large parts of India worship Lakshmi, right? Right?
Yes, sir.
What is Lakshmi the god of?
Well,
Money. So, how can we have a country where we worship Lakshmi and all our women are not financially independent? What is going on? How can we worship Lakshmi and say she is the god of wealth, and then look at our sisters and say, in a college with 500-600 women sitting here, not one girl says, I'm financially independent. Does that seem right? So these are the type of things these are the challenges you're going to face. And these are the challenges you've got to overcome. This is how society controls women. None of you financially independent. You're going to depend on someone else. If you're not financially independent, you are. If you're married and you're not financially independent, you're going to depend on your husband or maybe on your parents. So that you have to build that. It's critical. Maybe a lot of your husbands won't like it. Maybe a lot of your husbands will say, what is this Rahul Gandhi coming and saying? Why is he disturbing the whole situation? But it's my job. You have to become independent. You agree?
Yes, sir.
The next question, you were just talking about the farm bills introduced by the center. And recently, the 21-year-old Disha Ravi has been arrested. And what is your take on her arrest?
Look, throughout the country, people are being arrested for what they feel. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'll get arrested for saying this. What I said here, I don't know. You know, maybe they won't like it and they might arrest me for what have you gone and said to those girls. But, as I said in the beginning, a nation is its thoughts. A nation is its words. From the thoughts and the words, right? come actions. From the thoughts and the words comes character. From character comes destiny. So if you're shutting up the nation and you're frightening people and not allowing them to talk, you're destroying the nation's character. You're destroying the nation's destiny. It's simple. And no youngster in this country should allow anybody to frighten them into silence. If I come here one day and I say I'm going to frighten you into silence, you should not listen to me. Because your words, your thoughts, they're what make the country. That's your power. Don't give your power to anybody else. Why did I come here and say you have to be financially independent? Because I want you to have your own power. I don't want somebody else to define your life for you. That's why I'm saying to you, be financially independent. You have a role in society. You have power in society. Fight for it. If somebody takes it away, challenge him. Don't run away and say, no, 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 I can't do it, I'm a woman. Absolutely you can. Stand up to him. And many of your brothers, like me, are standing right there with you to work with you for it. Not to protect you, because you can protect yourself, but to stand by your side. Yeah? That's what politics is about. Politics is about Politics is about awakening the country. That's what it's about. So that's how you have to think, okay? Yeah? Okay.
Good afternoon, Rahul Anna. Good afternoon, Rahul Anna. I'm here.
Where are you?
I'm here.
Hello.
Hello, Anna. I'm from Economics Department. Your father was killed by LTT. What are your feelings about these people?
I don't myself. I don't have anger or hatred towards anybody. Of course, I lost my father, and for me it was a very difficult time. Do you have a father?
Yes.
He's alive. So, I'm sure many girls here have lost their father. You've lost your father? Yeah? So you know what it feels like. It's like someone has cut your heart out, no? It's like that. So I felt tremendous pain, but I don't feel anger. I don't feel any hatred or any anger. I forgive.
Thank you, sir.
Hello. Anna. Rahul ji.
Okay, now they've given me a slip saying last question. So I'm going to have to listen to them, and this will be the last question.
Hello.
Yeah. The mic's not working.
Sir, can you please turn around?
Yes.
I'm asking a question here.
Okay, yeah.
Sir, good afternoon.
Again, you like sir, but call me Rahul, call me Anna, call me.
Sorry, Anna.
Be comfortable.
I used to call my professor,
Yeah, but
so it's just
I-
a habit in college.
But I want you to be comfortable.
Okay, Anna.
I want you to relax.
I'll stick to Anna, no
Yeah.
more sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, even now you shared your pain by the loss of your father. So your
Well, loss of my father, no, because I still carry my father with me. So, look, understand something. Violence cannot take away anything from you. At all. It does not have the power. You can give up something, but violence cannot take anything from you. My father's alive in me. And by the way, a lot of the things that you have heard today, they came to me from my father. So my father is talking through me. So, it's not that my father is not there today.
After many hardships that your family have faced in politics, that is your grandmother, your father, what made you to step back in politics?
What gave you the courage to be in politics even after all the hardships you and your family have faced?
See, politics is a lens through which you see me. You see me, right now you're like, oh, he's a politician. But that's just, it's a very small lens. I am a human being, right? As you saw, I'm a cook, right? I can cook. I do many, many different things. But you've been told that I am a politician and that's the lens with which you see me, right? It's only one of the things that make me. For me, whatever I do, I believe in certain ideas. Okay? Like for example, when she told me that she's not going to be an engineer, this caused me disturbance. I didn't like it, right? I was, why is society not letting her dream? Why is society destroying her dream? So, when I see somebody being treated unfairly, I don't like it. It irritates me and I want to try and do something about it. And I found that this profession that you call politics allows me to do that for many people. And so I do that. I don't think it requires courage. I just go ahead and do it. You know, that's just what I do. And for me, like this conversation I had with you, I'm going away with a lot of understanding that I got from you. You will think that, oh, I came here, gave a speech and left. But I learned from you. I learned many things from you. And I'm going to take that home with me. And I hope that you learned one or two things from me. Yeah. So I think that's what life is about. It's about me respecting you, me listening to you, and then you doing the same, and then us improving both our situation. I don't think that needs courage. No?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, now, okay, last one. Now I'm going to get into trouble because I've got other people in a public meeting.
Here. I'm here.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Anna, first of all, very thank you for spending your precious time with us. And my question is that whenever you thought that why most of these women in...
Can you hold it closer so everyone hears?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Louder?
Whenever
Because
you
they can't.
Thanks a lot, sir. Whenever you think about that, most of the women were the toppers in the schools and schools exam and college exam, but only few were can reach the higher states in their as compared to men. Only few can reach their toppers. For example, CEO of Google is a man. CEO of Tesla is also a man. Most of the politicians were also men, and most of the scientists who received Nobel Prize are also men. Though we got 50-50 equal rights from the government, whether really women empowerment exists in India, and whenever you thought about that?
Well, see, there is a door in front of you, right? It is quite clear that it is unfair. You have to break the door. We have to open the door. So you have to make examples.
Okay, definitely,
right?
Anna.
So you and many other girls here have to become examples. You have to try and become the best at what you do.
Really?
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty confident that with 5 or 6 good examples, you will have a line of young ladies behind you saying, if she can do it, then I'm also going to do it. Yeah. No?
Yes.
And so that should be the spirit. It is unfair, but we are going to make it fair. There is a door in front of you. We're going to break the door down. Okay? Okay. Thank you.
Girls, I know you all hate letting him go, but we'll have to let him go now because he has another program to attend.
Unfortunately, look, it's been a pleasure for me coming here and talking to you. Did you have a nice time? It's been a pleasure for me. Now I've got other people who I have to go and speak to because there's a public meeting, and so I can't delay much more. But maybe I'll come back here sometime and have a longer conversation with you. Okay? Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Please be seated, girls. Please be seated. Please be seated. I'll just, yes. Please be seated. Thank you. It is my privilege to thank our honored guest, Sri Rahul Gandhi, for kindly consenting to meet and interact with our students. Thank you, sir, for the scintillating and thought-provoking session. Sir, I would like to place a request before you. I would like you to consider our representation from the alumni of the college requesting some financial support to sustain and maintain the association working towards the college's welfare and the benefits of the student. As a past student and now a staff of the college, I add my voice to this request, sir. Yes, thank you. I extend my heartfelt thanks to our beloved principal, Dr. K. Subramani, who extended his wholehearted cooperation in the conduct of this program. I would like to express my gratitude to Ms. Netta D'Souza, General Secretary of All India Mahila Congress, who coordinated the whole event impeccably with a wonderful team. I take this opportunity to thank and appreciate all the students and the staff of our college. Thank the police department who ably coordinated the security cover, the NSS, our NCC and NSS students too, and everyone who contributed to the successful conduct